the Centers for Spiritual Living theme is 2020 Spiritual Vision. We get lots of practice in these unprecedented times to continue to focus our attention on spiritual truth. And May's theme is listening to your heart. And today's topic is the great work of your life. Ernest Holmes wrote in this thing called You, page 3, you are one with the universe in which you live. You are one with the creative genius back of this vast and ceaseless motion, this original flow of life. Your mind is an outlet through which creative intelligence of the universe seeks fulfillment. This is the starting place for investigating the meaning of those impulses, longings, and desires which accompany you through life. And on page 72 of the same book, he writes, you exist that divine feeling, fire, imagination, and creativity may be expressed through you. I'm going to just read that again. You exist that divine feeling, fire, imagination, and creativity may be expressed through you. So let's use our creative genius now and speak the truth together with conviction. I know the secret of divine guidance is be still and know. Here within my heart is the all-knowing source of good, the answer to every question, the solution to every problem. I give myself the gift of silence, listen to my heart, and I follow it with confidence. Thank you. The great work of your life. When I think of that term, I think of the term from our Eastern friends called Dharma, living your Dharma. So when I think of living your Dharma, I think of all of the doctors, the nurses, the elder care workers, the hospital workers that we hear about so often on our in our media, who are tending to the health and the well-being of their patients, and who are doing that from a place of deep love and caring. They are living their Dharma. And I think about the teachers who continue to work with our children, educating them, the spiritual practitioners in our movement, and the ministers whose hearts and souls are devoted to the expansion of consciousness, to the realization of divinity on this planet. These are people who are living their Dharma. I feel that it's as if I'm living my Dharma at this point. And this is also true of people in other professions. It doesn't matter whether you are a carpenter, an artist, a truck driver, whatever your profession is. When you are there in a place of love and service, when you are loving what you are doing, you are living your Dharma. So within each one of us is this creative urge. It's a calling that makes our hearts sing to even think about. It's our particular way of being in service to the world. And it can change over time. This calling that we feel is our sacred work. It's the great work of our life. It is that which creates a sense of, we're making a contribution, we're making a difference on the planet. So if you're out of work at this time, if you're in a work that's unsatisfying, or if you're retired and simply just want to be more in service on the planet. We can get in contact with our Dharma, our calling, our way of being in service by listening to our hearts, because our hearts don't lie. So today my intention is to offer you a path to living the great work of your life in this very moment, your Dharma. And keep in mind that it will look different to each and every one of you, because we all have a part to play in the fabric of life. This thing called Dharma applies to everyone. And that is why I prefer the word refired to retired. So those of us those who consider themselves retired, I invite you to start using the word refired. Refired, what fires you up? What is your particular way of giving back? And you're thinking, well, we have this social isolation thing going on, and yet we know we can connect with others, on Zoom like this, by phone. There are ways that we can still give, even if we're socially distancing. We live our Dharma by consciously choosing to live in what is called our creative genius. So this is where the idea, we listen to our heart and the ideas start flowing as to what is ours to do. Today I'm going to be referring often to a book called The Big Leap by Hendricks. It's a book that's been around for quite some time, but it so beautifully applies to this concept of the great work of our life, living our Dharma. He calls it living in our zone of genius. And so I'd like to dispel the idea that many have of genius, thinking, it's just those people with the high IQs. And in truth, we all have a genius within us, our own way of giving to the world. That's our genius. And so as we live in our zone of genius, this is how it feels. It's as if time flows. We're in this flow of time. Time is our friend. And many of you have felt that way at one time or another, when you felt in the flow or in the zone. And also, the other element of it is that we expand in abundance, creativity, and love every day as we inspire those around us to do the same. That's living in our zone of genius. And I just want to go quickly through the different zones that are offered by Hendricks in his book. He first talks about the zone of incompetence, activities that we're not good at doing. For me, it's home repair. I leave home repair up to those who love that and are able to do that well. Then there's a zone of competence, activities that you're competent at, but not the things that make your heart sing. So, for instance, I'm fairly competent at working with our website, and I do it from time to time, but I'm very clear that it is a competence, it is not what makes my heart sing. Then there's a zone of excellence. These are activities that we do extremely well and make a good living at. And it's in our comfort zone.
Uh-oh.
Sleeping in. willing and see what happens.
Sorry, everybody, we had a technical difficulty for a reason. Somehow Kathleen got muted.
You have to switch over to the other.
Dad, can you hear us?
You have to shift
Oh,
over.
they can hear you.
Oh, they can hear me? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Somehow something weird just happened in the system. So Reverend Kathleen, if you could just back it up maybe just a little bit, that would be great.
Okay, right. Okay.
Sorry about that.
So I'm not sure where we left off.
What the?
The big leap. Okay, let's go back to the big leap. So we're going to take the big leap now. And this is how we do it, by asking ourselves, am I willing to feel good and to have things go well all the time? That's a big leap for many of us. And that's the point. It is a big leap. And what Gay Hendricks encourages us to do is to be willing and to see what happens. So, think about it. We humans, for centuries, have been transcenders. We've transcended beliefs that we held to be true, whether it was that the earth was flat or that this or that could not be done, you couldn't fly, and so on and so forth. We've transcended many beliefs over time. An example is early in the day of the steam-powered train, scientists believed that the human body would explode if we went faster than 30 miles an hour. Yes, these were learned scientists who believed that we would explode if we went faster than 30 miles an hour. So there was some brave soul who decided to test the limits and see what would happen. And nothing happened. And so, we found that people can travel at much faster speeds and still be fine. So that's an example of how we can leap beyond our beliefs and into a new realm. So
suddenly
why
switched
not
to
be willing
First of all,
to
she
feel
stopped.
good
You
all
couldn't
the
hear her for a
time
while.
and for
Then
our
it switched to
lives
death.
Okay.
to go
I heard
well,
a ding,
for
like,
things to
normally
go
there's
well
the
in our
chime. All of a
lives
sudden there was
all
a
the
chime,
time.
and I was like,
Okay.
why in the
And
world would there be a
particularly in
chime?
these
I don't-
Because
unprecedented
chimes are
times,
off.
why not
The only
step
thing
into this
is
new way
when
of
I
being?
said I'm back is when it happened.
So again, I ask you,
It's
are you
doing
willing
some weird
to
thing.
take
Anyway,
the
it
big
muted
leap
Mom,
into
and
your
it,
zone of genius?
like, I didn't,
Where
It
things
switched.
and it
go
switched over
well,
to Deb.
and you
Like,
But
it was just
it was
so
only
weird.
for a few
And
minutes.
this means being
And then
in
she
the
said,
We're back.
ultimate level
We're fine.
of
oh
love,
my gosh.
financial well-being, service, and creative contribution. So what gets in the way of all of this? Of course, we know it has to do with beliefs, right? Gay Hendricks calls it the upper limits problem. So to make the leap, we must understand the nature of the conditioned mind. We go back to this often, I know, but it's really important to get. Because our conditioned mind is at a set point. And that means in terms of our beliefs and because of our beliefs in terms of how much good that we can experience, there is a belief structure that's in place. He calls it the upper limits problem. So think again of a thermostat in your home that's set way too low. Let's say it's set at 60 degrees. And so the moment that your house starts to get warmer, what happens? The air conditioning kicks in, the thermostat goes back down to 60 degrees. Well, our emotional, our vibrational set point could be set very low. In other words, we don't experience as much happiness as we would like. So then when we start having a streak of more happiness, love, creativity, financial flow than we normally do, there's this unconscious mechanism that clicks in, that clamps down on the positive energy and gets us right back to our normal way of feeling and being. Now, don't get discouraged because there's something we can do about this. The first thing is to be aware of the signs that we're clamping down. And so often, after there is this flow of good that's happening in our lives, that's not our natural set point, that these are the things that we will do unconsciously. Start worrying. Start making up things in our lives to worry about. And often it has to do with money, especially in this time of COVID-19. There's a tendency to do that. Or we can go into criticizing and blaming, going around and looking for things that are wrong, fault finding. Or get into an argument, pick an argument with somebody. Or if somebody compliments us, deflecting it. Not really taking it in. We have this thing in our community, thanks to somebody by the name of Ed Wild, called rubbing it in. Rub it in. And the other one is, and this is interesting, a whole stream of things going well, and all of a sudden we get sick or we have an accident and hurt ourselves. These are all ways that we unconsciously clamp down on the positive flow of energy to get back to that set point. Psychologists call it our happiness set point. So what are we going to, first of all, before we do that, notice, I'm inviting you to notice in your own life, when you are in a streak of feeling good and one of these things happens, I want you to notice it, because simply by noticing it, like, oh, that's my upper limits problem. I'm worrying because I just had this flow of really wonderful creativity that just came through today. Or I had this flow of financial abundance, that came through all of a sudden, and now all of a sudden I'm picking a fight with somebody. Or I'm noticing what's wrong with myself or with other people. If we start noticing, that's the first step, is to notice that it's happening and make a choice. And so to transcend these signs of clamping down on that flow of positive energy, the first step, after we notice it, is to let it go. It's like, let go of the worry. And then to move into the zone of genius, which is what? Wonder. Start wondering what positive thing is trying to emerge in my life. This is very similar to our process of visioning. What is God's highest vision for my life? But it's the same idea as what is the positive thing that's trying to emerge that this clamping down is preventing, up until now. And so as we turn ourselves into that state of wonder, we really truly open ourselves up to living at that higher frequency more often. And then the next step is, once we start wondering, is notice any sensations in the body. Hendricks says is to look for something that feels a good feeling, a pleasant feeling in the body somewhere. So you may be having a pain in one part of your body, but look for where the pleasant feeling is. And then be with that pleasant feeling as long as you can. This just reminds me of pivoting in the Abraham Hicks work. Is pivot yourself and put your attention on what you want. So focus on the pleasant feeling. Feel it as long as you can. And then be ready to receive an answer of what is it that you're supposed to have, what is it that's supposed to be coming through this positive thing in your life. More peace, more love, more joy, more gratitude. Maybe it's just simply more gratitude. Being willing to look around and see all the things that you're grateful for. So here's a great example. This has happened with me. We have had this amazing streak of numbers of people showing up on our, not only our Zoom, but Facebook and on YouTube. Last week, for instance, we went well over 400 people that tuned into our service. And at one point, one of the services, I looked back at the history of it, there were over 800 that had tuned into the Facebook page of that service. So we're reaching more people. It's feeling really good. And so what do I notice? I'm getting a sore throat. And you might be thinking, oh, COVID-19. And I guarantee you it's not that, because it comes and it goes.
And it's not one symptom.
And doesn't have the other symptoms as well. So here's the thing that I've noticed is if I look at that and see it as the upper limits problem, a little bit of my subconscious mind clamping down on feeling good all the time, and realize that that's what it is, then I can start shifting my attention and being willing to see the good, to notice the good. And I do keep a gratitude journal. And I'm also keeping an achievements journal at the end of the day. I do those two things at the end of each day to keep my vibration high. And so it's just something to notice, and then to turn to the wonderment, and then to also be willing to use my voice. And this is what came through for me. A greater willingness to use my voice by sharing my perspective with others, especially in a smaller group conversation. Because sometimes I notice I do hold back when I have a really clear perspective to share. And I'm still listening. What else is it that is to come through me in order to live in my zone of genius? So here again, we exist so that the divine spark of creativity within may be expressed. Let's remember that. We are ever evolving. We have this divinity within us that is seeking freer, fuller, more expanded expression, no matter who we are or what our calling is. So it requires us to be aware of the signs that we're bumping into our upper limits, that we're clamping down on the positive energy of the conditioned mind. Be grateful that they're showing up and showing us where it is that things are being clamped down, so that we can move into a state of wonder, into our genius zone, and wonder, what is the next positive thing that is ready to come through in my life? Is there a new spurt of creativity that's trying to come through, or just a greater feeling of gratitude, or joy, or peace, or love? You know, let's not make it have to be something magnificent, that's going to save the world, but simply a higher frequency of vibration that's seeking entrance through us. I love this perspective. To me, it is uplifting, and it doesn't mean that we don't feel our feelings when we're feeling sad and stuff. We still do that, but then this is about really beginning to turn to that which brings us joy. So it's time to reset our thermostats, my friends. I'm inviting you to join me in that, to set our thermostats up into the frequencies of love, peace, joy, wonderment, gratitude, appreciation, realizing that when we live there, that we can more easily find and use those gifts that we have to make a difference. So I invite you now to join me in using Gay Hendricks' ultimate success mantra. Are you ready for this one? This is the ultimate success mantra. And it really, if you listen to it, it's a true statement of service as well as personal expansion. So listen to how it's worded. I expand in abundance, creativity, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. I expand in abundance, creativity, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. Do you see the connection, the interconnection? I'm growing, expanding as I inspire others to grow and expand. That's a beautiful one to put in your repertoire of something to use as a mantra that comes up that you memorize, and it's something that you can say often throughout the day. And notice there will be yes buts that'll come up, like, oh yeah, how am I going to inspire somebody else, or whatever it is that comes up for you. Notice them. Don't judge those thoughts. Those are the yeah buts. Let them go and continue with your mantra. So let's turn within in prayer, tapping into, in this very moment, the ultimate reality, the infinite invisible presence of the creative genius of the universe that is omnipresent, present everywhere in its fullest fullness, and right here where I am is my very own being, and right where everyone else is as their very own being. That life, that vitality, that urge to create, that desire to be a freer, fuller, more expanded expression of who we are is the very life of God in us, urging us to give our gifts and talents, and knowing that whatever our desire is, we have all the gifts and talents within us. They may be evident or they may be latent, but the gifts and talents are there, available to us right here and right now. So I know that as we short circuit the upper limits problem, those ways in which we clamp down on our positive energy, as we begin to shift into wonder, into our genius zone, into what is it that's trying to be birthed in me right here and right now. I know that we transcend. We are transcenders, transcending old beliefs and living in the possibility of having things go well in our lives all the time, feeling good all of the time. I'm so grateful for this awareness. I'm so grateful for this amazing blessing in my life, this blessing in our lives of all of us. And I give thanks for the manifestation of this word through the power of a universal law that only knows yes. So I release it to that law with a deep conviction that it is done and fulfilled, and so it is. Amen.